So we both have Josh Connolly Jr. at number 4. Another guy we both have at number 3 is one of the biggest rising stars in the NFL draft right now. That is Armand Membou from Missouri. Turned into one of the best tackles in America as a junior. So I mentioned before, Wyatt Milam was one of 2 tackles in the country with 85-plus grades as both a pass blocker and run blocker. The only other one was Armand Membou. 90.6 overall grade. You see right there, that was 3rd in the nation behind Spencer Fano and Wyatt Milam. So really, of guys who are going to play tackle in the NFL, Armand Membou was the highest grade tackle in college football this past year. Has the flexibility, the coordination, the balance that you look for in a tackle. Elite combine as well. So we're going to get to the stat for another guy later on in this list on. There have been 4 offensive linemen since 2003, so over the last 20 plus years, that came into the combine at over 315 pounds, and then they ran a sub 5-second 40 and a 30-inch vertical. Armand Membou, Will Campbell, Trent Williams, Tristan Wirfs.
Good players.
Those were the only 4. So Armand Membou is an elite company right there for just how elite of a combine he did. And like I said before, he was one of the best tackles in the country this past year. Explosive out of his stance, as you can see by those numbers as well. The arm length is, again, a little below average at 33.5 inches. It's not going to keep him from playing tackle in the NFL, but it's a little below average. Struggles against power rushers at times. Needs to get a little bit stronger, I think, and finish more blocks. And, again, only 1 year of elite production. Like, if he kept this up for 2-3 years, then I'd be talking about him with Calvin Banks Jr., Will Campbell. We'll get to those guys in just a second. But only 1 year of elite production at Missouri. But listen, he was one of the biggest breakout stars this college football season and one of the biggest breakout stars now in this draft process, and will likely be a top 15 pick because of it. All the athletic traits you look for in tackle. And honestly, he's a very young player. Can only be scratching the surface of his potential if he can get a little bit stronger as well. So I completely understand. I've seen a lot of talk about Armand Membou might be the first offensive lineman off the board, might be a top 10 pick overall. I get it, but I still would take the 2 guys ahead of him above him, but I still like Membou a lot.
I think considering, one, he was the highest graded right tackle in the country this year, and everything he can do at such a young age. Look, to me, I'm with you. I think his base is excellent. I think his lower body, I think his legs are very, very strong. I think it's hard to get through him when he's in form. I think the only thing I really have on him is, to me, his hands kind of set up sometimes a little low and wide, and there's too many guys that get access to his shoulder pads, and no matter how strong you are, if guys have access to your chest and your shoulder pads, you have an issue, right? But you talk about, especially, first of all, I look at just the range. To me, I look at the range 9 through 16, okay? When you talk about the Saints, the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Dolphins, and I don't think he would get any lower than 16 to the Cardinals if somehow all those other teams passed him up, right? Especially with the zone scheme that Missouri ran. We talked about this with Javon Foster last year when he got drafted on day 3. We're like, look, he goes to the right scheme. This could be a good player. Membou's even way better than that and younger. It took him a lot shorter time to get where he needed to get to the production of Foster's level. So the question that I find interesting about this too, let's say the Miami Dolphins at 13. They have a right tackle in Austin Jackson, right? So is Membou a guard, or do we think, you mentioned Tristan Wirfs as one guy who moved from the right to the left side. I think about now last year, Membou I think is better than this player, but Tyler Guyton, who was the right tackle, right, at Oklahoma, and the Cowboys moved him to the left side. Now, didn't have a great rookie year. Again, I don't think he's the same level prospect as Membou, but if he's capable of flipping over, and he's clearly athletic enough, I think that's been proven, especially at the Combine, then I think it opens even more options for him as far as what teams he could go to. I certainly think about Miami at 13 there and go, okay, this is the type of guy. If you're going to lose to Teron Armstead, this is what you replace him with, especially the way you want to run the football. So he's going to have options. I don't think, I'm pretty sure, I don't think he's going to go all the way up at 4 to the Patriots. They're going to have to believe he's on that level. You just mentioned what I think 2 future Hall of Famers in Trent Williams and Tristan Wirfs. He would have to, if they think he's on that level, fine, take him at 4. I think it's much more likely somewhere between 9 and 16, those 4 or 5 teams I'm looking at, and I go, you're not all going to pass on him. Yeah. And certainly not. If he gets all the way to 16 for the Cardinals and they could have him and Paris Johnson as their 2 tackles, they're living. They are absolutely living. So, no, it's just a fantastic player, and I think this, to me, just one of the more fascinating players as far as the number of different scenarios where he could end up as far as both team and position. But, boy, there's a base to work with, and he's only about to be 21 years old.
Also, I love that everyone's kind of coming around to the fact that right tackles are just as valuable as left tackles.
Right tackles are people, too. Don't get it wrong. If there's two people I'm going to defend on this show or the NFL show, right tackles and slot corners. Yep. Those are my guys right there.
Absolutely. And I think, San Francisco at number 11 overall, you get Trent Williams on the left side or Armand Membou on the right side of that zone scheme. That'd be, like I said before.
With Dominic Puni sitting right there inside him, too. I mean, you're talking about – and again, it's the same argument I've made with one of our next two guys on the list is eventually Trent Williams is going to retire, I think, right? And then we think about, okay, do we flip it over? And it shouldn't be – for some guys it's harder than others, but even Penei Sewell was a left tackle in college. He moves to the right side because you already have Taylor Decker. It shouldn't be that hard. For some guys it's harder than others, but that's where I'm curious to see with Membou, how many options does he have in this draft? Is he just a right tackle? Is he going inside? Is he playing left tackle? There's going to be a lot of speculation going in of like how each team could use him, but I think he's going top 16.
Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.